Favorite. Not Mark.
Yeah. I was gonna say, we were hearing it.
Yeah, those are all.
They're off.
Oh, they're off?
They're
Yeah,
off.
those are all.
Yeah, it's just
See,
regular.
I took my coat off. It's all,
It doesn't seem like it. I feel like
Oh, there it goes.
Okay.
Got one now.
I can't hear it.
quiet. It seemed like it was still.
Yeah, now.
All right, are we ready?
Maybe they won't say so. That's. Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending this meeting this evening. I'm going to open the meeting. It's 6:07. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic from which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. I have an announcement here. I would like you to include Tilly Bennett. She is the mother of former legislator Joe Bennett and Bill Bennett, an employee of the county who passed away recently. I'd like to take a moment of silence. Thank you. I just want to remind the legislators, if you can please use your outdoor voices tonight, to make sure that we can carry through the hall. And then if it gets a little warm, we can turn the air back on here. So, thank you.
Yep. Jonathan Anna,
Here.
Ben Vitale,
Present.
Tom Winslow,
Present.
Bob Shay,
Present.
Hans Petcher,
Here.
Mark Strong,
Here.
Heidi Nightingale,
Present.
Elaine Daly,
Here.
Stephanie DeVito,
Yeah.
Brian Moddles, excused. Elaine McNabb Coleman.
Present. On the agenda this evening, we have three key items. So we have three separate public hearings. And we're going to open up those public hearings right now. The first one is to review and consider the three requests the county received to include real property into the Cayuga County Agricultural District during the designated annual application period of March 1st to March 30th. The second one is the public hearing on local law authorizing the sale of county property located at Beech Tree Road, part of tax map number 108.00-1-1 to Pierce Acres LLC. And the third one is the public hearing on local law for the year 2024, a local law amending local law number 4 of 2022, a local law to authorize video conferencing for public meetings, to continue the authorization for video conferencing for public meetings for 2 years until July 1st, 2026. Before we have a presentation, we can also advertise the number for folks to call in, unless there are other people here who would like to speak. The number is 315-294-8051. If you'd like to speak on any of these items that we were having this hearings for. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Carrie Terwilliger, our Director of Planning, to talk about the ag districts.
Good evening, everyone. Carrie Terwilliger, Director of County Planning Department. With me tonight is Planner Emily Antonacci. She is the newest staff to the Ag and Farmland Protection Board, my former responsibility, and she's going to give a very brief presentation on the three requests we received this year. Hi, so we'll be going through the 2024 Ag District inclusions. Next slide. So agricultural districts protect farmland by limiting local regulations on farm practices, modifying eminent domain on farmland, and modifying the right to advance public funds with facilities in the development.
They also facilitate reduced property taxes for farmland contingent upon landowners applying for agricultural assessment and meeting sales and acreage requirements. Next slide. Section 303B of the Agricultural Districts Law mandates a 30-day annual inclusion period to add predominantly viable agricultural land to the district. This requires specifying the district, tax map ID, and the land description. Viable agricultural land is highly suitable for farm operations, and farm operations encompass land, buildings, equipment, and facilities essential for the commercial crop and livestock production. This year, we received 3 requests for improvements. Request number 1 and 2 are both predominantly viable farmland, and request number 3 has no viable farmland and was not supported by the Agriculture and Farmland Protection Board. Next slide. So on the screen, you can see a map of the current agricultural districts. The parcels highlighted in pink are this year's request for inclusion. Slide. Request 1 is 64.93 acres located in the town of Wasco. It is in current agricultural use and is predominantly viable farmland. It's composed of 54.2% prime soils and 6.7% soils of statewide significance. Request 2 is 29.9 acres and located in the town of Wasco. It is in active agricultural use and predominantly viable farmland. It's composed of 63.55% prime soils and 8.39% soils of statewide significance. Request number 3 is 6.38 acres and located in the town of Senate. It is not actively being farmed and not supported for inclusion by the Ag and Farmland Protection Board. It does not contain prime soils or soils of statewide significance. And that would be all the requests for inclusion in the 2024 Ag District. Any questions, let me know.
Do we have questions for Emily? We want to discuss that the Benjamin Vitale that's sitting here is not the same Ben Vitale that's listed here.
No,
Just wanna make that distinction. I have a question. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the third piece. So they are saying that they want this to be included. And they just have gone through the process of getting to this point. And is there anything to add about it? Because this is not an active agricultural piece.
So I do believe it's currently vacant, listed vacant, but it's not actively being farmed, and with the composition of soils on the land, it's not considered predominantly viable farmland.
They also noted on their inclusion form, that they have to submit that they have no plans to farm it. That their other acreage is in the ag district, like so many non-ag parcels countywide are. And for some reason, they wanted that one added as well. We had a lengthy discussion about it at the Ag and Farmland Protection Board meeting, and it doesn't meet the minimum standards in New York State Ag and Markets Law, section 303 to be included, which is why the Ag Protection Board did not support having it.
But they have land in it now that doesn't meet those same requirements that's considered approved?
So we used to have, history lesson, we used to have 6 agricultural districts. The first one was created in the late 70s. The first 3 districts were created by having 51% of individual landowners sign a petition to have their land added to the ag district. The other 3 districts, including former District 5, which includes Senate and Wasco, were added because the town said we want all land put in the ag district. That was the easiest route. So we have an abundance of land, commercial properties, residential properties, you name it, in the ag district. Never been farmed, never going to be farmed. But by state ag and markets law and our own legislative processes, parcels can only be removed from the ag district once every 8 years during our mandatory 8-year review with ag and markets at the request of the landowner. So they stay. There's no impact to the property if you're in the ag district and you're not using it, not farming it, right?
And there's no benefit either.
You're not getting an ag exemption unless you fill out the ag exemption form with your assessor every year in March anyway, regardless of whether you're in the district or not. So there's no harm. However, to take the initiative during the annual 30-day period to add that land to the district, it has to meet the standards of predominantly viable agricultural land that's actively being used. And this parcel is not either of those things.
I'll just make a comment. We routinely turn down land. It's not like it's a brand new thing the first time we ever did it. Back when I was legislator before, there was a number of times that we did not approve them to move forward to the state.
This is the first one in my year, almost 12 years with the county, but there have been instances as I remember in the past where the request went to.
Further questions? Okay, thank you. We'll see if we can get to the next hour. Anyone else here would like to address public for anything that we're having a hearing about today?
I'm Bob Janis. I live at 25 Chestnut Street in Auburn. I want to talk about local law allowing teleconferencing. I understand the thought of it being needed with the building being shuttered due to environmental issues. However, I would like to suggest that you deal with the inconvenience of finding alternative meeting spaces that has been created by this crisis as a show of solidarity to all the displaced workers who are going above and beyond to make sure that we continue to offer our community the service it needs and expects from its government. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. We'll move on to proclamations. We have two proclamations to honor the Moravia Blue Devils girls and boys varsity basketball, both members and winners of the Class C state champions. That will be offered at a later date by Legislator Strong and myself when we iron out those details. So I can't wait to do that. You want to speak about this?
Very briefly, obviously, the girls, boys, varsity basketball team, both won state championships this year. That is the first time in state history that a public school has won championships in the boys and girls divisions in the same year. It has been done by private schools, but public schools, this was the first in state history. So that's kind of nice. My goal or my plan, and I'm running into friction to the school, is to, when they dedicate the banners that they hang in the school gyms when somebody wins a state championship, I'd like to read those proclamations at that time, but we wanted to recognize them as county legislators. They have been recognized at the state level, by the state legislature in Albany, but due to all the goings on with the building and cramped spaces here, we couldn't drag, every team member and parent and coach and everything. So that's the plan. Stand by for further time. I want to thank the chairwoman for helping me sponsor these proclamations, and I think it's deserving of a round of applause. Thank you.
This proclamation was given on Juneteenth by Legislator Nightingale, and that was presented in the city of Auburn. Thank you for doing that.
Welcome.
Okay, we have a couple of presentations tonight. First, we're going to start with Brian Lenny from Cayuga Milk Ingredients, and Legislator Vitale, if you'd like to do the introductions.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce Brian Lenny with Cayuga Milk Ingredients, and I thought it would be really appropriate to have Cayuga Milk do a presentation tonight. After all, June is Dairy Month, and also Cayuga County is now ranked number one in agriculture in New York State. So I thought it really be fitting to have Brian come and present to us a little bit what's going on with Cayuga Milk.
I did send a presentation to someone.
Yep.
Not sure where it is.
I'm pulling it up.
I can just speak, but I don't know, it's better if I see something. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to a place where one of our board members, I guess, helped create this building. So the O'Hare family is, Kelly O'Hare is on our board. So that's kind of cool that I got to come here. And I was headed to the other building. They go, oh, I don't think it's there. So I wasn't late, I was here. So anyway, I'm here to talk a little bit about Cayuga. This is gonna be more of a commercial. I think you had a little more about New York, but this is more about Cayuga marketing and Cayuga Milk Ingredients, which we have two distinct divisions. I'm the new president that started about 1.5 years ago. I just made it through my second winter. I know you guys don't think those were winners. I think. So in general, I'm guessing you wanted to talk a little bit about the building that we're building out there. It's a 235,000 square foot building that's being built at 15 Eagle Drive in Auburn. If you guys ever go back there, it's kind of by the mall. You can just go back there. It's going to be this huge frame of a building out there that we're working on. It's a little more than twice the size of the other building that's already there. So a little bit about who we are. Cayuga Marketing is our bulk milk division. So we have distinct divisions and distinct boards. So Cayuga Marketing is where we sell bulk milk to somebody else. So like we sell bulk milk to Chobani and they make yogurt out of it. We sell bulk milk to Kraft and they use that as well. A little bit about how they got started. About 30 years ago, they started buying farm equipment. They started buying grain together. They're a group of farmers saying, if we could get together and buy things together, it would be more efficient. And then about, I don't know, 12, 14 years ago, they started getting separated from the co-op that they were working with. They said, you know, a lot of things are not going the way we'd like to see them. So this same group banded together and said, let's build something. And they went to France and they went to other places throughout Europe and tried to decide what to build. Well, then they built this powder plant. And so who are they? Well, they're 32 farms with 22 owners and they're your neighbors. They live all within about 40 miles of here, most of them within 25. We have 50,000 cows we milk. We have about 1.5 billion pounds of milk that we produce a year in New York. I know, what is that in gallons? It's like 175 million gallons of milk produced here. It's got 10% of what's produced in New York. And New York's got a lot of investment in milk, so it's getting bigger. And then we have about 65,000 acres that we farm all within this area. About 70% of our milk is within 25 miles. And we're your neighbor, basically. So if you go to the next page, I don't know who's flipping it, but a little bit about sustainability. Ben wanted me to talk about that. We have a large powder customer. I'll tell you they're Nestle. They're the largest powder buyer in the world. They told us, we sell them a lot of powder throughout Southeast Asia, into Ireland and other places. They do a lot of initiatives on carbon and a lot of carbon footprinting, and they have all these different calculations that they use. And they basically say that Cayuga Milk Ingredients, our block of milk, is the lowest carbon footprint milk in the North America, Northern Hemisphere, basically. I think there's only a few places in New Zealand that have a little bit lower, and that's all grass-fed, which is a little bit different than how we do it. So by far the lowest in America. So that's something to be proud of. That's something they've been doing here way before I got here. This is all done at the farm. And the plant also, there's a lot of sustainability issues or initiatives at the plant as well. So we take it very seriously. We're on global boards. We're on this one board called SAI Platforms. It's a global organization where multi-global companies like Nestle and Danone and all these people are there. We're the only farmers at the table talking about what's it take to get the right kind of carbon footprint. And they need to hear from the farms because a lot of the stuff isn't free. It costs money to do it the right way. So we do a lot of really good things, and it's not just about carbon, it's about animal welfare, it's about doing the right thing for the land and everything else. I told you it's gonna be a little bit of information. Next page. So then on to Cayuga Milk Ingredients. So Cayuga Milk Ingredients is our commercial side of this. So we got bulk milk marketing, then we've got the commercial side. We built this powder plant. And in that, we make a lot of different products. And that's a product that someone uses in a product again. So once again, we sell product to Kraft Cream, and they make Philadelphia cream cheese out of it. So we don't make the finished good out of this. We just sell them an ingredient, not just milk, but something, processed a little bit further along, but it's like tanker loads of product. But we also make a lot of powder, and we do a lot of high-end type powders. So if you go to the next page, it'll talk about the different types of products we make. We make these stuff called skim milk powder and then non-fat dry milk powder. Sounds like the same thing, but skim milk is actually standardizing the proteins to a 34% level. So it's fixed, and you have to have the right kind of machinery to do that. Then we also do milk protein concentrates and milk protein isolates. And those are things that you'll find in protein drinks and protein bars. And it's further processing and more concentration of proteins. And it's a specialized plant that can do more and more. We call it filtering and drying. And then we have fluid products like condensed milk, cream, and an ultra filtered milk, which is basically the milk before you dry it. So it's ultra filtered concentrated protein that someone might use to make a high-end protein drink. Core Power does that with their products. They're concentrating their proteins and making a protein drink. So then you go to the next page. What does this mean? Well, on the fluid products, it's a domestic product. So we sell most of that in New York. Almost everything we produce that's in a fluid product gets sold to a New York company. But 28% of our milk goes somewhere else in the world. So everywhere it's a blue country up there is a country we shipped powder to last year. And it's 20 countries. The largest customer was in Mexico, and then most of them were in Southeast Asia. We also ship to the Middle East and South America. So this is a global business being shipped from Little Auburn. So it's a pretty cool business. So it's a 1.5 billion pounds. That means 400 million pounds of milk got dried and sent somewhere else. So it's a really interesting business, and that's why we needed someone that was in this business before to help us design the plant. So then you go to the next plant. At the plant that we do right now, it's about 1 billion pounds of our milk is actually processed in our own ingredient plant. So the plant that we ship to, that's within about 25 miles of most of our milk, which is really sustainable. When you start doing carbon footprinting, one of the biggest things is just freight back and forth, and we're really close. And we don't irrigate here, so all these things are really important to carbon footprinting. If you're in Idaho, if you're in other California, they have to irrigate everything. It's a lot more difficult. But if you look up there, you'll see the gray building. That's the current facility where we make these powders. There's some little blue squares in there. Those are things we're thinking about adding on to that building. So we're still building onto that one. And then the dark blue one is the new facility, and you can see how much bigger the footprint is on that. The front of the building is going to look just like that with the bright red Cayuga. And it's 235,000 square feet, aseptic dairy capabilities. So it's a consumer products plant. So now we have bulk milk marketing and ingredients division, and now a consumer products plant. So consumer product plant is a whole set of different customers that basically have a finished good. So it's going to be a finished product, let's say like a carton of milk we can make, or a bottle of milk, and we can sell it. We can make a protein drink out of it, all aseptic. And it's basically a whole different set of customers than the customers we have now. So if you think about it, we have bulk milk marketing, we have ingredients, and now we have consumer products. So yeah, it's a lot of money and it's a big step to do this, but in the long run, it's actually less risk because your customers are going to get way more diversified. And that's a really good thing, and work for a lot of really smart guys, and they figured all this out. So the next thing is you go here to the next page. What are some of the things we're looking at putting in that? Well, protein drinks. Well, protein drinks are, how many people here have a meal replacement or drink this instead of having breakfast? A lot of people I know. Our CFO has one of these every morning for breakfast. So if you're like a meal replacement like Boost or a Premier Protein, and you're looking to work out or whatever, there's a lot of very specific technical things that people are looking for in this category. And they're sold as shelf stable, but in the grocery aisles. It's usually in the health and wellness area of the stores. If you go to Wegmans, you'll see it right by the pharmacy. All these things are sitting out there, and they're not refrigerated like the rest of them. So this takes the right kind of plant, which is the kind of plant we're building. So then if you go to the next page, the types of products that are going to be on there, like Premier Protein or Core Power. Core Power is building a new plant in Western New York, which is Fairlife. They were up to 69% last year. $240 million in sales incremental just last year for Power. Premier Protein was up $440 million last year in sales, just 1 year increase. They're a $2 billion brand by themselves. So the whole category is up double digits. And last I checked, it wasn't that cheap to buy this stuff. I'd rather insert it if you're looking for cost. But people aren't buying it because it's inexpensive. They're buying it because there's a specific reason you're doing this. You've done research. Usually you're some kind of athlete that's looking for a specific thing to build muscle or whatever, or maybe it's about rehydration. If you just added up all the dollars that are on the bottom incremental last year, it was over $1 billion worth of growth last year in this category. So we thought, we make this kind of powder and UF stuff at our ingredient plant. Why not maybe look at doing this? So we're looking at these machines. We already have a bottle machine that we bought, and we're looking at these. They call them Tetra cartons, Tetra Pak cartons. It's a Dream Cat package. Anyway, I feel like they're salesmen now, but this is some of the things that we're looking at that I think are going to be really interesting for us, because one plant's going to be synchronized with the other plant. It's complementary products that support each other. But then the next thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit was, what are we doing in the community? Because I don't think people, we're not in the big scope of dairy. We're not that big. But in this area, these are folks that I was just at a farm this morning, they're 6th generation. This is the 6th generations running this farm right now. This is where they want to live. And they just keep wanting to, invest in this area and do it the right way so that they can continue to have homes here and not have to move and do this somewhere else. And they want to be dairy farmers, and they want to find ways to control more of their destiny and have relationships with their customers. But at the farm alone, we're employing about 1,200 people. At the current plant that we have about 100 people. When I got here, we had about 90. Now we have about 115 to 120. I don't know if they just think I'm soft touch, we just keep hiring people, but we are starting to hire for the next plant too. So there's a lot of people that are already being hired for that. And then the new plant's going to add about another 150 people. So in this area, we're going to have between 1,400 and 1,500 jobs that are part of what we do. Most of them at the farm. Farms, some of these operations are really big. There are almost 100 people working on some of these farms. They're so large. So I thought that was important. It's not specific to ag, but I think you're right. Dairy is one of the huge drivers in this marketplace as far as ag, but there's a lot of also crops that are being produced here as well. And then if you go to the last page, this is a picture of what the plant's going to look like. You see the beautiful plant that we have already, and the next most beautiful plant is right next to it. It's going to be done at very high end, highest level of dairy tiles and stainless where you need it. The whole processing room is completely stainless. They're doing it the right way, just like they did in the existing plant. If you look behind there, you see a lot of green. Look at Mike Miller on this one. There's more land out there that we're looking at. And so there's 85 acres out there that we can do this 2 more times on that one side and then do it again 2 more times on the other side. So right there between those 3, we got about 350,000 square feet of plant. It could be easily 1 million square foot of operations out there before it's over. There's really no slowing these guys down. So I think it's just a wonderful thing to be a part of. And I just also want to say thank you to Cayuga County for all your support. The town of Aurelius has been really supportive. The IDA has been fantastic. So without it, we know we wouldn't have been able to do it without you. And from all the guys that are the families that run this operation, we just want to say thank you. We appreciate it. I hope I covered what you wanted to cover. That's all I got.
Any questions for Mr. Lenny?
I have more of a comment than a question. Thank you for coming today. I represent a fairly large district down in the south that is predominantly farmers. And I want to appreciate the fact that you came here, brought positive light on farmers and farming operation and what it takes to become a successful farmer. And I think Cayuga County is proven that we have successful farmers in this county, and we need to stand by them and protect them as much as we can, because obviously with a plant like this, it's very important to the life of the city of Auburn and to the life of Cayuga County. Thank you, sir. Years.
Brian, I just had a quick question from one of the legislators on water consumption. And I'd also like you to touch on the water that you discharge. What kind of condition of that is it?
Well, we have a water treatment plant right on site, so it's fully treated before it goes back out into the creeks and system. And then we're also adding on a whole another separate wastewater system that can do up to 1.4 million gallons a day. So it's part of the whole project is to make sure we have that infrastructure in place. So it's clean.
And the new plant you're referring to, when all of these infrastructure things are taken care of, what is the time frame of that?
I guess I should say that. Middle of next year. So about this time next year, that plant should be commissioned and starting to run product. We want to be running by, I wanted the first quarter, but I think it's going to be more like the second quarter
Of next year?
of 2025. Yes, we're about a year away. Yeah, good start on it though.
If you need any of the equipment, it's right outside the door there.
Yeah. In good shape.
Aseptic, that's right.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here tonight.
Here, thanks for inviting me.
Yep. Okay, up next, we have a guest here tonight, Dan Kalinsky. It's going to be presenting a housing study for the county. Us, and you have a handout at your seat to follow along with as well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Chair, for having me, legislators. Thank you for inviting me today. Before I get into my formal remarks, I want to make two quick points. One, really awesome that I got to follow Brian. The Cayuga Milk Ingredients Project is one that we highlight. First, I'm sorry. My name is Dan Kalinsky. I am the Regional Director at Empire State Development. Yeah. I'm the Regional Director for Empire State Development. I represent the 5-county region that is Central New York, and that is Onondaga County, Cayuga County, Oswego County, Madison County, and Portland County. So very familiar, obviously, with the Cayuga Milk Ingredients Project. And I gotta say, we were really happy to be able to support that project with a significant award, I believe, $2.5 million, I think was between grant and tax credits. $8 million. But it's exciting because we just re-upped our strategic plan for the region last year, and agriculture remains one of the cornerstones of our strategic plan. And it's evident right here in Cayuga County why it needed to stay in our strategic plan at the forefront. So I'm excited to see that plant get open. Hopefully we can have a nice ribbon cutting next year and make a big event of it. The second thing that I want to point out, only because I don't know how often and how much you are aware of how impressive the work that Steve and Carrie have done for your planning departments. You all, by building out this team and funding them at the level that you do, are doing something that's unique to the other counties in our region, because they are working directly with your towns and your villages to apply for grants, specifically DRI New York Forward grants. And Cayuga County has been extremely successful the last 2 years because of that. And it's a direct relationship to having the county planning department helping those towns and villages apply. So I just want to give them a shout out because I know there'll be a lot more good work coming. So I wanted to just make sure they got the credit, because there's a lot of resources flowing into Cayuga County directly as a result of the work that they're doing with their towns and villages. But I was asked to come here today to talk about some of the housing initiatives that are happening both through ESD and across the state. And if we go to the next slide, so who am I and why am I here? So I introduced myself, but just a little bit more detail. So I'm born and raised in Syracuse. I'm from this area. I've lived here my entire life. I love the 5 counties in Central New York, and at the end of the day, I want to make sure that I'm a resource to you all. I don't come with an agenda. I don't come with, maybe I have a perspective just based on my experiences, but I'm not here to tell you all what you should be doing or shouldn't be doing. I want to hear your plans. I want to help you realize your goals. And then at the end of the day, when you give me a good plan or you give me a good project, I'll help find the resources to make it a reality. There's a lot of different resources available across New York State. We don't directly control all of them, but we do control a lot of the ones, especially through our grant program and our tax credit program. So at the end of the day, I want to make sure that you all knew who I was. You can reach out to me at any time. I'd love to come tour your districts, especially our farmers, who I know are always in need of help. accessing resources. And I know, they're up to sundown, so don't even have the time of day to look at an application for a grant necessarily. But we want to make sure that we can be a resource to all of our businesses in Central New York. And so just 3 things that I'm going to touch on quickly this evening. The first is giving you an update on the regional housing study that's taking place that's being sponsored by Empire State Development. Talk a little bit about the Pro Housing Communities Program, what it is. Take your questions on that so that you can take it back to your individual towns and villages and make sure that they're applying, because there are significant resources available right now for towns and villages, any municipality that is a pro housing community. And lastly, just talk briefly about why I think it makes sense now for you all to be looking at a countywide comprehensive plan and a countywide housing study, and why why it could make sense for Cayuga County given the moment that we're in. So that is really small, and I'm sorry, I realize I put a lot of text on one slide. So we'll make sure if someone needs these, we can get these slides out to individuals. But real quick, so Empire State Development is undertaking a housing study right now in coordination with the Department of State. And really this came about because of Micron. 2 years ago, Micron announced that it's going to build its fab site up in Clay, New York. 9,000 direct employees, 40,000 additional employees throughout the different sectors that are going to be needed to fill, not to mention the thousands of construction jobs are going to be created. There's estimates and ranging anywhere from 60,000 to 100,000 new residents in our region in the next 10 to 20 years. Which is exciting. I don't think anyone can remember a time where we've seen growth of that size and magnitude. Most of us have lived through a relative decline for the last 20 to 30 years. So it's an exciting time, but it's also an unprecedented time. And so Empire State Development decided we probably need to take stock of what we have at a high level across the region, and that does include Oneida County as well, given the investments that are being made at Wolf Speed and how we really see less as competing regions and more of kind of a super region. So ESD is undertaking the study. We brought on HRNA advisors to analyze the housing market in Central New York. The goal of this was to inform regional housing strategies, neighborhood revitalization, specifically where we are today and what you can expect in the next few months. We have completed an existing conditions analysis on housing supply and baseline demand, and that's without Micron, just to get a sense of where we are today. They're in the process of finalizing housing demand projections in light of Micron. Obviously, anything that we projected 3 years ago is now changed. So they're kind of looking at it from where are we today without Micron and where we plan to be with Micron. They're currently advancing scenario plannings to understand how the region could grow to accommodate that projected demand. And this is with all types of housing. It's not one form that we need. You'll see, and I'll talk about it in a little bit. Oneida County just completed their own housing study, and the theme we hear over and over and over again is we just need housing, every type possible. It's expensive to build right now, so obviously the more units you can put on more land, the cheaper it is to build. But ultimately, we just need more housing of all types. So they're currently looking at that and what would be good growth models for us to see throughout both our urban cores and in our surrounding areas. And then they're going to ultimately recommend the needed infrastructure, need some regulatory changes that need to happen at the state level, and some financial interventions that we might need to see in order to unlock some of the capital that is currently locked up right now to help investors feel comfortable and make those investments, help make banks comfortable loaning to those types of projects. So a lot more to come on that. We're anticipating this study to be released either later this summer or early in the fall. So once that comes out, I will be sure that you all get a copy of it, that the planning department gets a copy of it also, that you can incorporate into any planning that you might be doing as you go into the next 6 months, year, 2 years. Next slide. So you might be asking yourself, why is Empire State Development doing a housing study? You're not a housing agency. And that's because housing has become an economic development issue. If we want to be able to prepare for not only Micron, but the growth that's going to come with it. And let's be honest, we were a growing community before Micron. I mean, there was a lot of things that were happening between business growth, Cayuga Milk Ingredients being a prime example, but others. We were seeing a lot of growth in this region before Micron decided to come here. And I don't think it's going to, there was going to be growth anyways. As you start to see climates changing in the south, becoming hotter, water becoming more scarce, the resources we have up here are invaluable, things that we're going to need to protect. And there are going to be reasons why people want to move here, because ultimately you look at maps of climate migrations and those places in the world that are going to be the least impacted by the warming environment. Central New York is primed and ready to be a climate migration haven. So all these things tie into economic development, because if we're not making investments in our neighborhoods, if we're not doing it in a way that respects what people want to see in their communities, I think that's the thing that we want to get across to everyone here is, I'm not here to tell anybody what to do with their communities. We want to just help you plan for the change that is coming. Because if there's one thing that I can guarantee you, and it doesn't matter if you're a major urban center or if you're a rural part of your county, change is coming. It's inevitable. 100,000 people is going to have an effect on all parts of the county, all parts of our region. And now is a good time to start planning for what that's going to look like so that you can figure out, what do you want to be in the next 10 to 20 years? Do you want to be a growing community that actually is building housing? Or do you maybe want to stay quiet and quaint and just maybe take advantage of some of the tourism that might come along with it? If you don't decide, then decisions, I'm so happy to see the ag parcels that are being preserved, and hopefully that means that developers can't just come in, scoop them up, and then turn them into new housing. But without a plan, that's what happens. Sometimes land goes to the highest seller, and you lose control over the destination. So we're here really to help you find the resources that you need to plan for the future that's coming. I show this slide here on kind of how we got to where we are today. Over the last decade prior to the pandemic, we created over 1.2 million jobs in New York State, but we only built 403,000 new units of new homes. Next slide. This was a headline just in Syracuse.com back in March. Rent increase in Syracuse in January, among the highest in the nation. And that's not changing. A house, when I rented back on Tip Hill 5 years ago, my rent was $850 a month. That same rent today is $1,300 a month. And that's kind of the trend across the board. And as you can see on the slide to the right, the home prices are just getting exorbitant. So not only can people not afford to rent, if they would like to buy, those starter homes cost significantly more than they did 10, 20 years ago. And so they came to buy those starter homes. And a lot of it has to do with we're kind of in a supply and demand crunch right now. Next slide, please. And so to help with this, the governor passed last year an executive order, and then it was solidified in the budget this year, this Pro Housing Communities Program. So what is the Pro Housing Communities Program? It is communities are deciding that they're going to commit to being pro-housing by building more housing. And that means you can build any kind of housing you want. There are certain programs, discretionary programs that are tied to being a pro-housing community. Next slide, please. And so the question everyone's asking, why should my community apply to do this? One, it's helping support diverse housing markets, which helps boost tax revenues. It helps boost quality of life. Again, diversity being key, not one type of housing, but all types of housing are needed. This also, is going to help the statewide shortage of houses. So the study that just came out prior to Mike Ron said that we need to be building in central New York 2,500 units of housing every year for the next 10 years to meet the demand. We are currently, I believe, building somewhere in the 400 range. So significantly below what we need to be building. There are a lot of projects in the pipeline that are going to help us meet that demand. But as a whole, we're just not keeping pace with what we're expected to see when populations begin to increase. So we need to significantly ramp up the ability to build housing. And as I mentioned, by being a pro-housing community, that'll open up certain grant programs that'll only be available to those communities that are very pro-housing. Next slide. So in terms of how you apply, very simple. The municipality that has control over zoning will be the one that has to send in the letter of intent. So unfortunately, the county cannot apply on behalf of the county as a whole. They send a letter of intent to Homes and Community Renewal. Homes and Community Renewal will respond with the documents they need for the application. They send in that application and they are committed to within 90 days getting a response to them on a yea or nay. What would make someone be considered pro-housing? If in the past year they've seen an increase of housing units by 0.3% in 1 year or 1% over the last 3 years. So if your municipality has 1,000 homes in it and you added 30, then that would be considered 0.3% last year. If you added 3, would be 0.3%, and if you added 30, that would be 1% over 3 years. Or I'm sorry, not doing that very well. If you added, 10, 3 is 3, and then 10. So you'll submit that documentation, they'll look at your, your zoning maps, they'll look at your building permits that you've submitted, that you've issued over the last 5 years, and then they'll make a determination. If for some reason your municipality has not grown, which many of ours haven't, especially our rural communities, then the legislature of the municipality can pass a resolution saying that they're going to commit to being pro-housing, and that they're going to put forward efforts to help, help create new housing within the municipality. Next slide. So as I mentioned, applications are accepted on a rolling basis, about 90 days until they receive the certification. There's a dashboard on HCR's website where you can actually see all the municipalities that have applied. And then each year at the end of March, you'll just be asked to renew that by submitting updated permit information for the previous year. And that'll allow you to keep that certification as long as you're on track to meet the goals of 1% over every 3 years. And if you go to the next slide, these are the grant programs that are specifically tied and are available to pro-housing communities. As I mentioned, Cayuga County has been extremely successful in the DRI and Moving Forward programs. Moving forward, communities would have to have a pro-housing designation to be eligible for the DRI and New York Forward. The New York Main Streets program through Homes Community Renewal, and then specifically for Empire State Development, the Regional Council Capital Fund. If a municipality was looking to apply for sort of, treatment upgrades and for grant dollars for that, they would have to be pro-housing community. And then the new one this year, which I really want to highlight, is the $40 million. That's brand new. That didn't exist last year. That is to be specific for municipalities to apply for. It is unlike Restore New York. It's not a pass-through. It has to be a project that is being sponsored either by the municipality itself or by a not-for-profit. Typically, they probably have to be an economic development agency. I guess we could consider other not-for-profits, but I'm assuming, and it's only because we haven't reviewed applications before, I don't know quite how it's going to shake out, but I'm guessing it's going to have to be an economic development agency. That's going to be to help you with blight removal, infrastructure projects. So, kind of like Restore New York, if you have a building that's keeping a site from being developed because it's vacant, dilapidated, has asbestos, you can access these funds to help take down that building and prepare that site for future development. Similarly, if the site needs infrastructure, you could use dollars to build infrastructure into the site, making it more attractive to future developments. So that's a really exciting one. I'm very curious to see what kind of projects we get, and I'm hoping that they re-up that in the following year. And then lastly, the Public Transportation Modernization Enhancement Program, that's about $69 million through the Department of Transportation. And then if you look at the next slide, this is just a quick snapshot of Cayuga County today. Actually, I think I pulled this Friday when Carrie asked me for my slides. Currently, there are 2 communities in Cayuga County that have submitted all the documentation, have received certification, the City of Auburn and the Village of Weedsport. And then there are 4 other municipalities that have submitted the information needed. So the Village of Aurora, the Village of Cayuga, the Village of Moravia, the Village of Union Springs. So that's it. There's a lot of space on that map that is not green or blue currently, and so we'd really like to increase the number of municipalities that have that designation. I'm going to preemptively, I think, answer a question that many people are maybe thinking. If for some reason next year a community doesn't make the requirements, we are not putting any language of recapture into our grants. So if you receive a grant this year, and next year you do not make it to the eligibility, we're not coming to take that grant back. That is your grant. Use it as you see fit. So as I kind of said to everybody this year, it's like playing with house money. There's, in my mind, no reason not to apply. We're not asking you to build any kind of housing. We're asking you to build any kind that works for your communities. The money is there to be accessed. The one thing that I didn't know is we're anticipating another round of Restore New York opening up later this year, and we're anticipating pro-housing having to have that designation for Restore New York as well. So really important. I know many of you don't know me, but I do know a lot of folks in the room here who have worked with me. I'm a straight shooter. I'm not here to sell an agenda to you. I'm not here to try to convince you to do something you don't want to do. I'm just here to try to get resources into your community, because at the end of the day, that $40 million doesn't come to Central New York. It's going to go somewhere else, because they are going to apply for the money. And I want to make sure that we're getting the most amount of resources in our community. I think that's all I had for pro-housing. The last thing I'm going to say, just because I've seen a few other housing, community-wide housing plans and just comprehensive plans as a whole, and why it might make sense for Cayuga County to do it. First of all, just economies of scale. Asking your municipality, your towns and villages to do housing studies it's difficult, having the resources available, but also, it's like a singular unified strategy across the county, makes the most sense, at least from my perspective as an economic developer and looking at it from a regional level. The micro moment is going to affect everybody, and maybe the change that's coming is going to be slightly different, but coming in with a unified message, taking the 10,000-foot view of what's happening across the county as a whole, and not kind of one-offs across, where this village might have something and they might have something. By bringing it together, you'll have, I think, more success both in figuring out the vision for the future of the county, applying for future grants, and ultimately, I think, being more successful in seeing the growth that's going to come to Cayuga County. The last thing that I'll just say is we do have planning grants through ESD. We don't have them specific. You can't apply just for a housing study, but for comprehensive planning or other planning grants, strategic planning grants, we have those available to us. Those are now on a rolling basis. Those are not subject to the July 31st deadline like others are. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about what your project is, or what you're looking to do, and help make those grants available to you. And if you have questions about any of the other ones, we've held a series of workshops. We held one this morning, actually, right here in Cayuga County. I'm sorry that I was not able to be here in person myself, but happy to also talk to you about the other grants that are available through New York State for your communities, for your businesses, because at the end of the day, like I said, I want to be a resource. I want to help answer your questions. I want to make this as easy as possible for you all and for your people you represent. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
I may be totally confused, but part of your presentation is to encourage any of the municipalities to get pro-housing designation.
Correct.
And in order to get that designation, they need to apply, and they need to make a commitment for housing development. But are you trying to make the point that unless you have a study of what the market is looking at, ESD is not doing a housing market study?
We are doing a housing market
But
study.
why then should Cayuga County do their own?
Because ours is a 10,000 foot study. So we're looking at it regionally. I think they're gonna do some land use at a very high level. But it's not gonna get into the nitty gritty. I brought with me today, Onondaga County just completed theirs. And it goes town by town, village by village, very in depth. They created dashboards for each of their towns that they can go on and see what's the existing land use, what are the zoning policies, some recommendations on how it might be easier to bring in development or some suggested changes. So we are not doing that.
Okay, and without that local information, it's going to be, you can still get a pro-housing designation.
Yeah, they're not one and the same.
Okay.
And I only brought them up because I was talking about housing initiative as a whole.
Yep.
The pro-housing designation, you don't need to have a comprehensive plan or necessarily a countywide plan to be successful in the pro-housing communities program. I think it would give you a very good idea of what you currently have, where you have opportunities to grow now, what land is available, what places have the right zoning in place so that you could, to grow in the way that you want to. And then maybe some changes that you might recommend to make other land available or make some land not available. I think that's also important too, is preservation of our land is just as important as areas that we're going to develop. And that's something that you will see both in a comprehensive plan and then in a housing market study. So, and I was approached about a year ago by the county planning asking, should we bring up a potential countywide study? And I actually recommended waiting until our regional study was done, because then you could utilize that as you're making your own studies. And I'm encouraging the other counties to do the same. Onondaga County did theirs. Oswego County is about to complete, is about to put out RFP for a housing study in Oswego County. And I'm working on Cortland and Madison as well.
And this is the purpose of having this conversation about the benefits of a countywide study, is that?
Right. So on a macro level, we're looking at doing a countywide housing market study. As Dan said, looking at all aspects, all values, all sizes of housing throughout the county. What our municipalities are already saying they want to see or don't want to see. What the market is pushing for, right? Where housing is being bought and created regardless. And then trying to say, here's some recommendations based on existing conditions, what the market is pushing and looking for, what your community is saying you want to have, to be able to respond to it. if you so choose, right? We recognize county level, we don't have land use regulation authority. That's one component of a much larger strategy and plan that the planning department will be bringing to you next month, that folks on the planning public works committee has been seeing for a couple months now, is we haven't had a county-wide master plan, comp plan, strategic plan, whatever you want to call it, since 1969. So we've been working in little silos. We've been assisting all of our communities for all of the years to do their individual plans, which is great. But we haven't taken a county-wide look, including all of our municipalities, our departments, our partner agencies, everyone together to answer the question, what do we want to be when we grow up, Cayuga County, right? We haven't done that since the 60s. So regardless of what's happening with Micron and any spillover that comes this way, we need to be looking at our own planning initiatives to say, what do we want to do for us? What do we need to do to move the entire county and our municipalities forward, right? The third component of that is a county-wide, minus the city, because they have one, brownfield opportunity area assessment, right? We know we have vacant, underutilized sites throughout the county, right? In our villages, in our towns. Some things are contaminated, some things are not. Having that information to be able to market those places to developers and say, here's the cleanup necessary, or hey, there's no cleanup needed, is just as important. Our municipalities don't qualify to do that on their own. So we're looking at a three-pronged approach to take countywide initiatives moving forward next year.
What would be the cost of that in this?
The housing market study. Right now, current estimates for the housing market study is $150,000. There is state funding out there to cover a good portion of that. We've received, through the assistance with the city of Auburn, some money upfront already from some of our nonprofits and other housing agencies in the county saying, we value this, we want to participate. We're allocating some money to help pay for this. I believe it's $20,000 that we've been given already.
Housing authority, right?
Yes.
Yes.
We're looking at other avenues beyond state funding to help make up that difference.
Thank you. And if I can just make one other point about, going more towards the comprehensive strategy, Micron aside, which I think, I do believe Cayuga County is primed to take advantage of some of the growth and some of the outspill, because here's the thing, 100,000 people can't live in Onondaga County. A lot of people don't want to. They want, quieter places to live, bedroom communities where, they're gonna know all their neighbors. They don't want to live in mini cities like Clay or Cicero. But beyond that, our office gets almost on a weekly basis site selection requests that go to, the representatives here and the rest of the region for investments in the hundreds of millions of dollars of range, hundreds of jobs that are completely unrelated to Micron. And that's because Central New York is on the map now. I mean, Micron selects Central New York, there's got to be something going on up there, and they all want a piece of it. So when Deloitte and all these other major site selection firms are requesting places, New York State is number one. They always ask us first. We have water, we have power, we have land. So the opportunity to take advantage of some of these manufacturers, a lot of more manufacturers coming to the area, is huge. But you also got to have sites to do that. And so part of what you could do is realize, what do you have in the current stock? What sites are available? And then there are state resources to help prepare sites for additional development for large scale manufacturers that are looking for 50, 100,000 square feet, 200,000 square feet facilities. And then the power that might go with that as well. So just something to keep in mind that, like I said, almost weekly, my office is getting a request for potential sites that could fit the request.
I think the message also that we can carry away from this presentation is that we're all ambassadors to our districts, and it is incumbent on us to go to our towns and villages and let them know, to further inform them. And I know that we do a lot of county planning, but it's also a friendly face. I do encourage everyone here to make meetings and
I'm happy to go, if any of your, town councils, village councils, town boards have questions, we could arrange another virtual meeting with all of them. you've got my cell phone, give them my cell phone number, they can call me. I'm happy to answer any questions that people might have, probably more concerns that they might have. I've heard a lot of them. I've heard some really outlandish things that I don't know where people get some of this information from. But I'm happy to kind of dissuade again. You all don't know me, but I hope I can be a trustworthy voice. I'm here just here to help.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Oh.
Go ahead.
Is there any part of this particular program that has an impact on housing, current housing renewal versus housing and economic development? Many of us live in districts where we're dealing with great dilapidation and loss of housing through, even demolished buildings, buildings ready for demolition.
Standard. People are paying substandard. That's a good point. There isn't a stipulation yet, but that is something that I'm going to raise because again, a lot of these communities aren't going to have an opportunity to see necessarily growth, but perhaps by increasing the viability of these existing housing stock, maybe something we can add as a stipulation for next year. And certainly something I'm going to raise to my colleagues because, unfortunately too, in ESD we don't do just housing programs. But having good housing stock, not just units, but quality units that are safe for people to live in is going to make places very attractive to live in. So I think that definitely sounds like something that should be included as a way to meet the requirements of the pro-housing community. Something I'll raise to our.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us today. Appreciate it. Hey, thank you. Thank you. At this time, if anyone in this room would like to address the legislature about any of the 3 hearings that were here that are currently ongoing, I will remind the public also listening, the number's 315-294-8051 if they would like to call in and be heard as well. At this point, if there's any privilege to the floor, anybody who needs to come and be heard, do we have anybody, like the legislators have any speakers to join us this evening? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard? Okay, we're going to move forward. And we will do minutes.
Minutes to approve, May 28th, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion on those? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we have appointments and reappointments. Some of these were held over due to the building issues and other things. I would like to present them as a bundle unless anyone wants them separated.
There's a resolution.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'll get it. It's been a few months. All right, communications and announcements. We have none. I spoke with Dr. Durant yesterday. I don't think he was going to be here, but I'm just double checking to see if he's on or if anyone is representative of Q Community College is on tonight. Don't see anyone. Didn't think that he was going to be here. Okay, great. Committee reports or individual legislative reports. Anyone wish to be heard? Start with Mark.
I want to thank Legislator Nightingale for thinking highly of my grant that my trap shooting team received. I wasn't here last month due to my knee operation, but I would just like to say that the progress is ongoing. We had a little setback with our developer. He injured his back and had a little trouble getting his workers together, but so we're gonna probably have about a month delay in getting that project finished up. Just a quick report on the spring season this year. It was a rebuilding season for our team, but in our division, we finished 5th. With that finish, we had in the girls division, we had all 4 of our girls finish in the top 25 in the division. And with 4 boys on our team that finished in the top 25 in our division. So it was a rebuilding season for us. We lost 6 seniors last year. But overall, an outstanding season for us. And with the addition of the grant and the upgrades to our facility, we're looking forward to our fall season. And I just want to thank the legislature for approving the funds for that grant.
Thank you very much. Legislator Nightingale, and then we'll do Legislator Vitale.
A few things to report from committees. I'd like to first talk about the opiate settlement funds, which is part of a subcommittee to the Community and the Community Services Board. Let you know that that in 2023, 2024, they've awarded $6,480,000. They have $1,149,630 available to allocate. And if they continue to allocate the existing programs for another 2 years at these current funding levels, they'll still have $343,351 left for miscellaneous projects, but that also doesn't take into account future settlement awards to the county. Wanted to mention also regarding the Community Services Board that Cayuga County Community Health Center received a 2-year $600,000 homeless grant from the Department of Health to fund agencies in the county. Still waiting to hear back from 2 outstanding grants. One is a harm reduction, one is it's a prevention grant. The the Community County Health Mental Health Center also received $49.5 million from OMH to grant for daytime mobile crisis outreach patients, particularly discharged from the hospital with mental health concerns. And then finally, with the community college, the board has passed its budget for the 2024-25 school year with a 1.4% increase. So that's what I have to report from committees that I sit on.
Great, thank you. Legislator Vitale?
Okay, first of all, Mike Miller just left, but I wanted to announce that next month, July 10th, the Planning and Public Works on the agenda, Mike will be presenting an update on what the IDA is doing. I know there was some IDA members in the audience earlier, and we also know that economic development is going to be very important for Cayuga County to kind of build back what we're losing right now. And that's kind of where I'm going with this is last year when the exiting legislature did the budget, they appropriated $7.6 million, I believe, out of the fund balance to balance an operating budget. And since then, I think we spent another $600,000. So that's over $8 million that we're planning on using out of the fund balance this year. We also already know that sales tax is not performing where we want it to be. We're probably going to be at least $1 million short of budgeted there. We also know that a lot of the state mandated services that we have are also going over budget. So in my eyes, I would call this a fiscal crisis. We really need to open our eyes and figure out what the heck we're going to do. If you were to continue at the way we're going and you start budgeting for next year and you try to be flat, you're going to need another $8 million. If we go to the fund balance for another $8 million, there will be times of the year that this county will have a cash flow issue. I don't think we want to do that. If we budget for another $8 million and we put it on a tax roll, that's a 16% tax increase. I look across the chairs here in the front, and I would just love to see somebody raise their hand to say they want to have a 16% tax increase. Just by the way, 1% generates $435,000 for the county. So I guess at this point in time, I think we really need to start paying attention to what's going on. We're halfway through the fiscal year. We have 6 months to kind of do some corrective action here and try to make the pain next year a little bit less. I keep looking at our agenda and we continue to add personnel to the county. Right now we have county employees working here, there, at home, wherever. We're in a difficult position. We're bleeding money. And to continue to add positions at this point in time is like voting for a 16% tax increase. That's just my point of view. I don't know if the rest of the legislators can agree with me 100%, but this is a shot across the bow that we better start opening our eyes, making some tough decisions. Nobody likes to make tough decisions. But I'll tell you one thing I don't want to do. I don't want to lay somebody off that just got hired 3 months earlier. Thank you.
Okay, any other legislative reports or committee reports you'd like to share? Okay, I think what I'm going to do, Jeremy's still here. I think what we'll do is I'm going to give my chair report at the podium and then we can turn the air back on. I'm seeing perspiration in the room and I think everyone's dying. So. Well, I gotta get through this. So I'll go to the back. I think that will help.
Thank you.
I know you sold it short by 2 hours.
Did I?
I hope so.
Is there a button back there? You know, Jeremy, is there a place?
Now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Turn it on now, and then I'll use the microphone, and that way you can hear it.
Everyone's looking for it.
And I don't.
I don't have time.
Maybe this will help. Yeah, so that's good.
I haven't had.
Okay, the chair report, I'm gonna spend some time just updating you on where we're at with our building. The last time we met in chambers didn't happen. So, thank you for adjusting to life here, as we've been meeting in this ag museum. I see many faces in the audience who are employees of the county. You have been doing a tremendous job. You've been agile, you've been very supportive and creative, solution driven, and I really appreciate, and the legislature appreciates all the work that you're doing. So I just wanted to give you an update. I'm going to refer to some notes that we gave to the department heads yesterday. This will be sent out, across our employee base tomorrow. I just wanted to kind of go over a timeline and tell you where we're at. So on Wednesday, the day after last week, May 29th, the building and grounds were notified that there was some sort of material deposit in his office, in the county office building. Upon inspection, they suspected it may be vermiculite deposits. If you research vermiculite in New York State, vermiculite is assumed to be an asbestos-containing material. When our employees of building grounds saw this material, we realized that it was possibly asbestos-containing material. We closed the building and sent everyone home. By midday that day, we secured emergency contracts with Paradigm and Crawl contractors. So we had an environmental firm and an abatement firm on site to do the investigation to figure out whether this was a hazardous material or not. From May 29th to June 2nd, we had an initial cleaning of the building. We had sampling, we had air testing, and then the vermiculite was confirmed by Paradigm. There was a initial clearance report. We shared it with New York State Department of Labor and CSEA Occupational Health and Safety. We also contacted Colliers Engineering, who is the firm we've been working with to do our whole renovation of our county office building. So they're very familiar with our building. We've been working with them for a couple of years. Paradigm, the environmental contractors, and OSH. And it was confirmed that we as Cayuga County need to figure out a control mechanism for stopping future vermiculite infiltration into building interior. So we were giving a directive, figure out where this is coming from and put a control in place so it stops. So that brings us up to date to June 10th to June 14th. We secured another environmental firm called Legislature with two goals. Comprehensive testing to clear the building for limited access and retrieval of critical items for operations. And an engineering access to identify vermiculite pathways and prepare a containment strategy. So we tried to build up a case so we could get in the building and retrieve some really important documents, really important tools, and things that we need to keep our county running smoothly. So we had a plan in place. And then day one of that plan was to investigate the building and look for visual inspection to see if the vermiculite was present. So Steve Lynch received a call maybe, I don't know how many minutes into their investigation, half an hour, 30 minutes. And even though we had been out of the building for a few weeks, they were able to see vermiculite in a visual inspection. And it was located in various parts of the building. It wasn't just in one area. So we had this great plan to try to get access, trying to get people in, try to get those very important things that we need. And that plan failed because the vermiculite is present. So that brings us now to what were these kind of next steps that we're in. We were very surprised by that outcome, and we just had to monitor and adjust and try to come up with a new plan for this. So Legislature Engineers is preparing a plan for material retrieval. This includes requiring use of certified asbestos abatement contractors. They have to set up a clean room and decontamination chambers for equipment and materials retrieved. This requires application and approval of New York State DOL procedures and securing abatement and monitoring contractors. So as you can see, we went from what is this material? We figured out what it was. We tried to get a plan to get some access, and now we have a building that's considered contaminated. And in order to retrieve materials, we have to set up clean rooms and decontamination stations. So that is another level of reality now that we're living in. So we're attempting to work through this to try to still retrieve materials. It's not going to be myself, or Steve, or anybody else going in the building. It will be folks that have high-back suits on, respirators, and they will try to retrieve those materials, decontaminate those materials, bring them out of the building safely. So our reality has changed quite a bit. The abatement contractor retrieval of critical materials, we're looking to start that process in August. That's our goal. This is the busiest time for abatement work because all the schools are doing abatement work. So we are looking for a really, highly recommended contractors to work with. So we have Colliers and Legislature, the firms we work with have very many contacts, and they're going to get us in touch with people who are very reputable. So we can get this process moving. So we have a building that we can't access with things inside. Some of the things that Mr. Vitale had said, some of the realities we're facing. I agree with. I also agree with the fact that our charge is to continue county operations and provide the highest level of service delivery that we possibly can. So that's gonna take a lot of help from the legislature. It's gonna take being agile, being flexible. It's gonna take money and funding to move us through. We need to secure locations, we need to secure resources, we need to secure equipment. We need to secure pens and pencils and stamps and paper and copiers. And all the things that you can imagine go into county government, we need to secure. Now, what I will say is that we have some really creative department heads that have already built relationships with other counties, are already have borrowed equipment, have already talked to New York State and has got everything that they need, and they're up and running. The DMV is up and running, the sheriff's department. We have collaboration of department heads, and it's going very well, and I appreciate both of you getting that up and going. I know this is a very different scenario that you're not used to on County Health Road, but I really appreciate it. So there's a lot of that going on in the county, but it's up to us to provide for them the tools and the resources. And I know that we have this strained, financial strain. Also, we're looking for help with insurance, of course. We're collecting all the information we can to submit to our insurance carriers to try to cover the cost of this. But as we know, that's not always the case. So, you know, we have a hard road ahead of us, but we get to sit here, just come here and have a meeting. The folks that are doing the work in the county, they have been shoehorned into office space all over the city. They have been working in departments that they don't normally work in. The health department, for instance, has opened up their doors to allow people to work in. I think you have 13 people working there. I can imagine 13 additional people in your space. I really appreciate that. We have folks over at Employment Training, Soil and Water. I was looking at people who are here. We've utilized everybody who is here already, the spaces that they can possibly give us. So I have to say, I have immense gratitude to all of you. I want to thank you for everything that you're doing. It's a very strenuous time for everyone. So I felt that it was important to update you on this timeline. It has been a roller coaster. I think Steve Lynch is, well, Steve, you're still with us. But it's been a roller coaster. He's giving me a funny look, so hopefully he'll stay. But it's been a roller coaster, and we've really got, it's day to day. We get hopeful that we can have access, and we get hopeful that maybe, you know, we can figure out a different way to go about this, and then it seems as though something happens, so we've had to continue to be very flexible. So again, thank you to everyone who's here. I am sort of putting out a plea to this legislature that, you know, now's the time to really step up. And I know that's kind of a conflicting message because we have to save money and we have to do all these things, but we have, our charge is to provide services to people in this county. That's our charge. So we have to do, we have to act, we have to prepare, and we're going to continue to update the public. I will continue to update this legislature, of course. One of the things, you know, there's a few items tonight that we'll be voting on. Resolutions to sort of help us through this process and provide some resources. So I would like to, I hope I can look forward to support in that for those resolutions. I know this is like not normal process, but I will take questions if anyone here has any, and answer them the best of my ability. I'm not a contractor. I feel like a little bit of a vermiculite expert. It's very strange. I couldn't say the word for weeks, but now I'm very familiar. But
I'm Patty. I work in Cayuga Milk. The health department is coming over backwards. It's a lot of our workers. The other side of us are working remote. We spent the first 2 weeks working with one laptop for 9 people. We were working 7 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day to share that resource. Had we been given an opportunity to retrieve laptops that had Surface Pros, of obsolete printers that we use on the daily for reports, even 20 minutes, that first day, like, hey, we don't know when you're gonna be back, that would have been so huge. It's been a real struggle. Thankfully, the other departments have been very gracious and accommodating. I know the health department seems to have like double booked their own people to allow other departments to come in, so that was very wonderful to see today in person. I am worried that, like, there was a 2007 similar event, maybe some report came out in 2007. I can't speak to it, like, I have credits, like, great detail or anything, but, this is a known problem. And on May 25th, is that what it was?
Yeah, the 29th.
Okay, so on May 29th, we were breathing the air just fine. And fast forward, it's less than a month, and now to go in, you gotta be suited up, so whatever. So is there part of this process that you're going through, is that going to look at the impact that employees have endured for 20 years?
You're absolutely correct. These are all the questions that we don't have answers to right now.
Ready.
Working with Department of Labor, Occupational Health and Safety through CSEA, regional representation. These are the things that we're going to be investigating to figure out more information about them. But yes, it is a very hard thing to understand. Certainly for us, it was too, and it's been a shock all around. I will say that the morning that this material was found, I'm not trying to look at you, but the morning that it was found, you know, we were with maintenance when they found it. It is something new that they were not used to finding. So there's something going on in our building, and then there's something going on with the fact that no one had been in the building for 3 weeks, and it was migrating. So it appears to be a different kind of event. Now, our building was built in 1960. There is asbestos in the building. It's in the floor tiles and some of the fireproof spray or fire head, whatever, protection spray, what we call it, fireproof
Spray foam.
Spray foam, insulation. If encapsulated, it's fine. Right, so we know it's a problem. We want to get rid of that problem so we don't have to worry about moving cabinets across the tile floor. That's always been a concern. However, this seems to be a new concern. So if that gives you any help with how you feel about this, but that's the information that I've taken in. This appears to be new. So Gary Duckett, our current director of buildings and grounds, when he saw it, he said, "This is different. I'm going to call this in." So
And we appreciate that.
yes.
I would like to just add one more point, if you don't mind. Just like Mr. President, I said, you know, if we had a household budget, obviously, you know, you're looking at expenses, whatever. The county's no different, I can appreciate that. But, and I know you got difficult choices to make, but the same employees that you're referring to countywide are the employees who on May 29th through today have spent hundreds of dollars of their own money to get those filing resources, to get the paper, the printers, the laptop, the monitor. I can go on and on and on about what the 9 people in Medicaid alone have spent and bought, with not one time saying, why isn't the county, why? No, it's what do we need to do? How are we gonna serve the public? It's just nonstop, and it continues to today. So we are not looking for a pat on the back by any stretch, but a little communication from the top goes a long way across the board. And I hope after you release the thing tomorrow, that will continue.
Absolutely.
Really, all the employees really want and need at this point is good communication, that's action.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Certainly, as we've been trying to piece it together, we felt like we couldn't give you things until we got a handle on what it is. But I appreciate we were talking about this today about more constant communication. We have heard this, so I appreciate it. and we will do this. Interesting when you talk about people, using their own resources and, you know, I've heard the stories and I've talked with the folks that are opening their homes to their coworkers, saying, come over here, I have air conditioning, let's work this out together because we need to be together, do this. And they're working in their homes. So these people are going above and beyond. I appreciate you being here. I don't know if going to the ledge meetings, it's not your normal fourth Tuesday
It hasn't been,
evening.
but it's going to be.
Well, we appreciate that, and it's important for this panel to hear directly from you, so that's fantastic. Any other questions or anything I could possibly answer? Well, thank you, I appreciate you, listening. Please look forward, to updates. Like I said, we'll get an update out tomorrow, things and try to figure out if there's more information to add or not. So waiting for information to come to us. We got some reports today that we can include and we're attaching to that, so you can look at the reports yourselves. I will say between myself and Shireen and Steve, transparency is of the utmost importance. And so, we're reading these data reports, it's not my thing, but it's important for everyone to have it in their hands. And there's executive summaries and if you like the data, it's there, you can read it for yourself, but it's also interpreted. But that's appropriate. Thank you. Any other questions for me from lunch? Okay.
Outside.
Okay, is there anyone else here who wants to speak to the public hearings? At this time, we have reached the hour time frame, so I'm
Well over an hour.
I'm going to officially close the public hearings at this time. All right, I'm going to get into resolutions. Yeah, I brought it to the podium. Very good. Sure. Okay, we'll begin with legislator Daley for Ways and Means.
I'll speak loudly. Ways and Means had two resolutions this month. Ways and Means 1 is authorizing the settlement with AutoZone, reducing the assessment by $94,000. Ways and Means 2 is the transfer of delinquent tax properties in Weedsport for a sum of $20,000. Both have gone through the Ways and Means Committee. I offered them up. Ways and Means 1 and 2 is a bundle.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on these as a bundle? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those are carried. Thank you.
Before we move on, Chairman, I would also like at this time to make a motion to table a number of the bills on this legislative agenda tonight, which would include HH1, HH6, HH7, PW3, JP1, JP7 until next legislative meeting next month. This will allow for another update on our budget. Grace and Lynn are going to come back on an update on the mandated costs, our sales tax projection, and additional costs. We may have more information related to the building. I think based on what Mr. Vitale has said, we have more than a few reasons to take a pause at this time. So I would make a motion to table those resolutions and see if we can get a second.
I guess second.
Second.
Any discussion on tabling? I'll review in case anyone couldn't hear. HH1, HH6, HH7, PW3, JP1, and JP7.
Yes, till next month's legislative meeting.
So you're going to table to next month's meeting. Okay, discussion. Go ahead.
I'd like to discuss JP1 and JP7. I'm speaking for myself and the residents of my district. Obviously, these resolutions, I know they are positions that would fill a position that, one of them is you had a vacancy in the emergency services dispatcher position. The other one's to fill a deputy sheriff's position. The people in my district put me here and I ran on public safety. And to me, public safety is probably one of the most important things we as legislators of this county should be concerned with, because without public safety, things are tough. And I'm not safe, going to the store, going out to eat, driving up and down, the local roads. If you were to have an emergency, you need the dispatcher's positions. So I feel that the body should reconsider tabling JP1 and JP7. They're public safety issues, and in my opinion, public safety is number one. Thank you.
Tracy. Any other discussion?
It is my understanding that the training for the dispatcher isn't available until September. We're talking about 1 month. She can, that's what Denise, I think, had told Legislator Anna. As far as the deputy goes, there are 2 vacant road deputies as we speak right now. This would be holding this for 30 days while we created a new road deputy that had not existed yet. So there is an opportunity to fill those 2 vacancies, I believe. There are 2 vacant road deputies now.
Currently have 1 vacant road deputy.
Okay, because the information Diane gave us said there was 1 vacancy in January and 1 in March. On the information she gave us at the Ways and Means meeting.
Possibly there's some confusion over this particular position, because this was the one that was an existing position prior that was left vacant. I'm thinking that maybe
Well, but
there's 1 or 2, but there's 1 vacant.
But the position you'd be asking to fill is the new creation for 24. Is that correct? Because we took the backfill out and gave you the new create. So, yes, so you think that if there's 1 vacancy, then yes, fill the vacancy, yes.
Any further discussion from the legislature?
Sure. Mark, first of all, I support public safety as well. Obviously, these resolutions also affect my district, being in the northern half of the district. With that said, I think what we're doing tonight as well, we're just postponing for 1 month. We're not saying they'll never be filled, and this is consistent. This allows, I know on JPS, I do my due diligence of asking about what the positions is, how they're going to be filled, but I know there's other positions out here we don't really know the need. We don't really understand maybe what the position is for. And as we start evaluating positions, this is about consistency. And I support it because it's consistent across the board, and we're not playing favorites. We're not picking and choosing. We're just saying on tonight's date, we're going to suspend these fills for 30 days and revisit them in next month's meeting. So I don't see this as attacking the public safety. Again, I support the sheriff. I support public safety. I do support JP 1 and JP 6, I believe it is 7. I'm sorry, JP 7. But I think taking a pause for 30 days will not be putting public safety at risk. And if I thought it did, I would not be supporting the pause of the resolution.
Any other discussion from the legislature? Okay, we'll start with Tom.
I can appreciate the fact that, sometimes you have to, pause to catch your breath. But at the same time, you have to still continue to run the county as well. I just hope that if the we table these for a month, that it's not kind of putting them under the rug and be forgotten about. That's about it. You still have to run the county that way as well. Can't just say stop everything.
Senator Nightingale, did you have your hand up?
I just want to reiterate that I too support JP1, JP7. Those would be yes votes for me. But I support putting the pause on this while we get more information from our treasurer, from our finance director, more projections going forward, while we look at our current workforce as working remotely now and making more deliberate and critically thought out decision with one more month's thinking about whether we really need to put the caseworker on board now or there, because there's much more than just the two JP fills here.
Any other discussion?
I also want to state that I support public safety 100%. That's not the issue or the question for me. I do support these positions, but I am in agreement with tabling as long as it's consistent with all the positions that we were looking to fill for at least 1 month, so we can kind of get our bearings as far as the costs, what we're up against with our building and all the other things that we're facing that we're just learning about in the last couple of weeks. So it's not that I'm not in support. I just want to get a little bit more information so that I can have a better mindset when I go ahead and support this.
Has anybody who hasn't spoken yet had a chance? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to point out that JP1, that was a currently filled position, reason vacant due to unfortunate death dispatcher. So I know somebody said something about we can't get it filled because of training. There could be other former dispatchers that may be able to be hired or whatever the case may be. Obviously, there may be some, cause for concern as far as filling the position. I'd have to refer to the sheriff as to whether this fill a vacant deputy's position within the road patrol is currently budgeted or not. And the pause, if we're going to put the pause, I would ask that these two resolutions be separated and roll call voted on both positions. Thank you.
I have a request to separate JP1 and JP7.
There's a motion to table.
It's a motion.
Oh,
to table.
sorry.
Yeah, there's a motion to table.
Okay, thank you. So the motion to table was first.
We have to.
We just have to table. Gotcha, thank you. All right. Ready to vote? Okay, all in favor of tabling HH1, 6, 7, PW3, JP1, JP7? Can you do a show of hands so that?
They're in favor, correct?
All in favor? Oh. Opposed? No, opposed. Oh, are you opposed? Okay, just check.
So it passes.
Okay,
6-1.
thank you. Okay, now I don't know where we are.
HHS. 2, isn't it?
So we did 1, 6. Up next is Health and Human Services with Legislator Nightingale.
Madam Chair, Health and Human Services had 12 resolutions. One was pulled, HH5. And we've just tabled HH1, HH6, and HH7. So I will present HH2 individually. This authorizes the chair and the public health director to enter into public health preparedness contract with HR1, working in collaboration with the New York Department of Health to accept funding for the period of 7/1/24 through 6/30/25.
Now make a motion.
Get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion for HH2. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you.
Madam Chair, HH3 authorizes the chair of the legislature to participate in round 4 of the septic replacement grant, accepting additional funding in the amount of $200,000. We've heard for several years now the benefits of working with these septic replacement grants for homeowners.
I move it.
Second.
Okay, discussion on this. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you.
HH4 amends the social services budget of 2024 to accept funds from the administration for community living in the form of a grant to enhance adult protective services to respond to COVID-19.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's carried. Thank you.
HH8, authorizing the chair of Cayuga County Legislature and the Director of Community Services to accept funding from OMH to outreach to individuals presenting at the ER with mental health concerns. I mentioned this earlier in an amount of just under $50,000.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried.
And I would like to bundle HH 9, 10, 11, and 12. These are all agreements to enter into contracts with youth programming services and agencies funded through the ARPA funds that were put away specifically for the Youth Bureau. They include contracts to work with Central New York Sports, to work with Seymour Public Library, to work with Southern Cayuga Future Farmers of America, and to work with the Hideout Gaming Center.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Discussion on this bundle. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Finally, there's one other amendment or one other resolution 13. And this is authorizing the creation of a lead bank for a member of our health department. This is something that we do traditionally, but does need the approval of the legislature.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. For government operations, Legislator Muldrow has been excused. Legislator Daley is here in his place.
Yep, and now that the public hearing has passed, I can go through all 5 or 4 of those resolutions. GO1, adopt a local law relating to the sale of property on Beech Tree Road. GO2, amend the policy and sale of the distribution of real property. GO3 is to allow the IT to contract with different various municipalities to ensure access and security to county-owned systems such as computer-aided dispatch, tax and finance, and website management. And GO4 is to fix a day for a public hearing for the sale of county property on Clinton Street in Elbridge.
I'll make a motion.
Through committee, I ask them to be approved as a bundle.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, discussion on this bundle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Planning and Public Works, Legislator Vitale.
Planning Public Works has 5 resolutions that have been through both committees. First one was regarding the public hearing we just closed, authorizing the addition of real property to the county ag district. Like a motion for PPW 4.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
A,
Noted. That's carried.
It's carried.
DPW 5, 6, and 7, 8, I'd like to bundle regarding the rental rates at the Sterling Nature Center, creating a capital H Collier for the bridge over here on Emerson Park, fire detection system at the Sterling Nature Center, and also a contract to monitor the fire system here at the Ag Museum. I'd like a motion for PPW 5, 6, 7, and 8.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Discussion on this bundle? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's carried. Thank you. JPS Legislator Anna?
Madam Chair, Traditional Public Safety now has 5 resolutions. I'm gonna bundle JP2 and JP3. 911, authorizing the chairperson of the legislature to sign an agreement with Motorola Solutions for a migration of their GIS data with the Flex Building System, and the JP3 authorizes the chair of the legislature to sign a 1-year contract with Holster and Jackal Corporation for the maintenance of the HAVC units at the 911 tower site.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion on this bundle? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried.
I'll separate JP4 and JP5 from DA's office. JP4 authorized the chair of the legislature to execute the approved 2044 Crimes Against Revenue Program, the DA CARP funding planning award amount accepted in budget in the amount of $80,000.
Make a motion.
Discussion on this motion, this bundle, excuse me. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Madam Chair, JP5 is a create and fill for the senior grand jury reporter and district attorney's office. This is not a creation of a position. This is a move of a title. So there's no person actually leaving the job position. They're just changing a title of the position. If anybody would like further information, we can do it during discussion.
Move it, Mark. Second.
Discussion?
This was amended at ways to reduce.
It was amended at ways, and we eliminated the back position. So now it's position control.
Further discussion?
I'd like to have a roll call on this resolution.
Roll call?
Show of hands.
What a show of, what a show of hands do? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
And JP8. JP8 for the sheriff's office, authorizing the chair of the county legislature and the sheriff of Cayuga County to enter into an agreement with Schuyler County and Schuyler County Sheriff's Office, permitting the Cayuga County Sheriff's Office to respond to mutual aid requests made by Schuyler County. This is for 1 weekend during the NASCAR race. And it's fully reimbursed by Schuyler County.
I'll move it.
Second. Discussion on this. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Question on,
I want to make sure I have my. JP6 says it was defeated at Ways, authorizing the sheriff to fill 1 vacant Cayuga County Correctional Facility Administrative position in the custody division of the County Sheriff's Office, and to change the title of said position. I believe this was, this resolution was passed at committee and it was defeated at Ways. What does that leave the status of this resolution? Will that be voted on at full ledge?
It does not. Are you moving it at this point?
I'll move it at this point.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
any discussion on this? Hearing none. All
Motion to table. Till next meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, discussion on the motion?
Table.
The table, no, we're just tabling.
Right.
All, do we, all in favor? I'm lost now.
In favor.
All those in favor?
All in favor? Of tabling,
Tabling.
of tabling. to-
Aye.
Aye. Four opposed. Opposed to tabling? Sorry. I'm out of practice right now.
Is he trying to reintroduce the
Yes.
resolution?
Yes.
6-4.
So there's no discussion.
I got,
Table. There's a
Table.
motion to table.
yeah. That trumped that, I guess. Correct,
Preference, yes.
preference.
Well, it's tabled till when? I get that last meeting.
Till next
The next
3 days,
legislature
next ledge meeting.
Thank you. When we brought up at ABS.
No,
No,
Like you asked, we're
No.
tabled until.
they're tabled to the ledge meeting. They're not going back to committees.
So you can.
They'll be reintroduced. They'll be reintroduced next month, Mark. In the full ledge meeting. Nothing's going back to committee. They're not going back to Ways and Means. They're gonna, we come back.
Okay,
Table.
just checking. I just checked that. Okay. At this time, I would like to enter into an executive session on the sale of real estate.
Proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property.
Thank you, even better. Brain is fried. We get a motion for executive session and a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, let's go. We're gonna go down to the other room.
Oh, down to the.
The warm-
It's on.
Thought maybe I made it.
You gotta climb over.
What'd you say?
You wanna give it to me?
Where are you going? I took my peanut butter cookies.
You guys fall asleep?
There's something.
He ate cookies.
I know, somebody took my peanut butter one.
Those ones?
It's
Are those his?
It's a peanut butter.
That's okay, I don't need that.
Or, I'm sorry, chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip muffin.
So let me know when we're back on.
We're back on.
We're on.
Back on. So we had a motion to come out of executive session at 8:40. Mr. Vitale and Stephanie Petro. And the Republicans are in caucus at this point.
Okay, but that was an all in favor to come out.
I was all in favor to come out. Yes. So then we reconvened here. Time it is,
Okay.
and the Republicans are in caucus.
And then? Thank you, Jeremy.
I use the thumb.
I was just gonna say, I knew you were gonna be like,
Jeremy doing
it works.
He uses the thumb and it works. I use my finger, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
What time is it?
Oh, where'd Ben go? Ben? I don't know.
Boys,
that way.
maybe. Come back in.
All right, can I get a motion to come back into session? Second. Okay. We're at Ledge 1. Ledge 1 is one of the resolutions we had a public hearing on to adopt local law for the year 2024, the local law amending local law number 4, 2022, to authorize video conferencing for public meetings and continue the authorization for video conferencing for public meetings for 2 years until July 1st, 2026. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. For Ledge 2, these are authorizing the various appointments to the boards and agencies that are located on the first page of your agenda. Can I get a motion?
Move it, Mark.
Second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a way to sign the oath?
Your opposed hands?
Got one. Go.
Opposed?
Absolutely opposed. I think there's too much leeway in when you say emergency and the things that happen.
Ron, we're not on that.
I'm sorry, I can't hear with this damn air.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Turn it off.
Get that off. Thank you. I'm sorry, that's right behind him. Yeah.
Yes. That was ledge 2 for authorizing the appointments of various boards.
Who had the question about the oath book?
I did.
Oh, thank you. So I just signed the oath book here. It's a copy and they have permission or authorization or whatever from the state to
Allow remote signing.
allow reproduction, and then they can enter it into, and they get the book. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. Thank you. We're gonna go into ledge 4. So ledge 4, to ratify the acts of the chair of the legislature related to the closing of the Cayuga County Office Building on May 29th, 2024. So this is to ratify the decisions made in an emergency situation. When the vermiculite was found, we needed to hurry up and bypass all of the procurement policy to get people on site with staff and ready to go to do the work. So that was ledge 4. Can I get a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, any discussion on this? All in
Can we
favor?
get a show of hands?
All in favor with a show of hands? Any opposed? Carried. Now we're gonna go back to ledge 3. Authorizing the chair of the legislature to contract for goods, services, and equipment related to the emergency closure during the pendency of the emergency and authorizing the transfer of monies. In this resolution, this is to allow up to $500,000 to be taken from the general fund and put into a special account. From this line, we would use this to procure goods and services. With this resolution, we'll require a 5-person emergency authorization. That would consist of the chair of Ways and Means, the majority leader, the minority leader, and then whatever oversight committee would oversee the department looking to make the purchase. So that is ledge 3, and we are authorizing $500,000. Can we get a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes.
Whatever I said previously.
Lay it on us. We'll hear it a second time.
Air conditioning.
I'll give you that, Hans.
Because, this is just about every thing that's gone wrong has happened because of an emergency, and then we had to do things in a hurry and et cetera, et cetera. That's my opposition to it.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on this? Have a show of hands, all in favor? Any opposed? That is carried, thank you. And ledge 5 was pulled. Any other business to come before the board this evening? I appreciate the partnership tonight, really. I appreciate all the support you're showing myself and our operations team and all of the staff moving forward. So thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. Adjourn, thank you.
Second.
Night, everyone.
Well,